Hello, everyone. Good evening or good afternoon, depending on where you are tuning in. We are going to give folks just a few minutes here to join us, but we appreciate you being here for our Move to AU webinar. Again, if you're just joining us, thank you so much for being here this afternoon or evening, wherever you're tuning in from. We will be getting our webinar started in probably just one more minute while I see some people are still trickling in. But we're really, really excited to have you here to talk all about move-in and coming to American University. All right, so I've given it my obligatory 2 minutes. Again, I want to welcome everyone to Housing and Residence Life's Move to AU webinar. Just some housekeeping items before we get started. We do have the Q&A box and the chat enabled to discuss with any of the hosts and panelists. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to drop those in. And if it's something that we think is a great question, we will answer it live on here. The webinar is recorded. So we will be, getting all of your questions together. If there's anything we aren't able to answer here, we will be posting the webinar on the Division of Student Affairs YouTube channel, typically by the end of the week. And then if there's additional questions or kind of FAQ things that we need to follow up on, we'll be sure to include that on our website as well. And then lastly, there's a lot of people here this evening as we're kind of going through our different slides, the kind of folks that are answering or kind of answering your questions or kind of listing that slide out will introduce themselves so you can kind of get to know who we are before you get to campus. Yes, I just want to confirm that attendees are muted, cameras are off. The only people that you see on the screen right now are the panelists that are here to present this presentation to you. All right, so to get started, my name is Katie McDonald. I am the Associate Director for Housing Assignments and Communications, and I will be kicking us off with our Move to AU 2025. This is almost everything you need to know ahead of your move in to American University. So this evening we'll be going through kind of how we think of it is kind of in three chunks. Before you arrive, your move-in day, and then getting settled in. So I will go ahead and pass off to Shamira.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shamira James. I'm the Marketing and Communications Coordinator for Housing and Res Life. I also run our social media, so I've been prompting you all to join this webinar, and I'm so happy that there's about just over 200 people in here, so that's really exciting. So right now, you are in the before you arrive phase, and this phase is very important. You could have started this phase back in January, or you could have just started today as you've, selected your space, but welcome. We are in the before you arrive stage, and so the biggest things I want to focus on for this part are the thing that I take care of, which is communications. I don't know if I said my title. I'm the marketing and communications coordinator. So a lot of the communication you've been getting, about signing your housing licensing agreement, selecting your space, all those emails have been from like me and my team. And it's just important that you're staying up to date with those emails because that's where we're putting out the most relevant information to both the move-in process, but then also throughout the year. You want to make sure that you're checking your AU email, and then also on your housing portal, you also get a copy of every email. But it's important to stay up to date with that. Parents do not always get all the emails that we send to students, so it's really important that you're checking in with your incoming Eagle to see what communication they've gotten from us, so you can also be on top of that stuff as well. I also run our social media accounts, and we're always posting updates on there. For any residents of the Roper Hall community, I just posted some pictures of what the renovation is looking like, or what we hope it'll look like in August, along with some pictures of what it looked like when we did our final walkthrough. So be sure to check those out. And then I also manage part of our website, and it's important you check those out, or the web pages out, because we have our virtual tours. Those are the most true, like, kind of versions of what each space will look like. We have a person that comes in and films the space, and they create this really fun 3D model that allows you to look at each space from a bird's eye view, but then also really putting yourself in the space. So it helps you be able to plan for the next important thing in your before you arrive stage, which is the packing list. And we'll get to the packing slide separately. But it's important that you review this list so that when you pull up here from wherever you're joining us from, you don't bring a double door steel fridge and you're like, hey, where can I put this? And we're like, you have to take that back with you. I'm so sorry. So it's really important that you both review our packing list, but also double check with your roommate or your roommates to make sure that if you guys are bringing any items that are doubles, you can kind of consolidate to really consider the space. And then just some extras. We do work with a couple lovely vendors. My Fridge Rental, they are in partnership with us. They sell to students the only a certified fridge and microwave unit that we allow in our halls. So if you're interested in having your own fridge in your room, I would say check those out. We're going to update those links by the end of the week on our website. If you'd also like to secure a bed loft or an XL bed, those or the bed loft purchasing has opened. Bed loft will open a little bit later, or XL bed will open a little bit later. Sorry about that. And you can do those purchases within your portal, but there's more information on our website as well. Next slide. So when we're looking at what to pack, obviously you're going to have your typical things: storage containers, reusable bags, you're going to have your shower caddies, things like that. If you ever are unsure if you need something, there's no problem with not bringing it when you first get here and then maybe making a stop at your local store or having it shipped later. You want to think about space when you get here. You want to think about how your car is packed. When you are choosing the packing items, it's really smart to choose things that you can reuse both when you're moving in and when you're moving out. Obviously, if a box is available, that's fine too, but you want to be able to use things that you can continue to use throughout your 4 years or your tenure here at AU. DC is on the East Coast, and so we experience all seasons. And I will say right now we are experiencing the worst part of this. We're experiencing the worst part of the summer. If anyone is from the East Coast, you understand what's going on. We're in the oven. But when we get to December, January, it can get very cold, and we actually experienced some snow this past winter. So you want to consider all of the seasons that you can experience and what your level of comfortability is with as far as packing clothes. And let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, when you get here, you want to make sure that all your essentials are easily accessible. We'll have a campus partner talk about that in a second, but you want to make sure that things like your IDs and anything like that that is very valuable is packed somewhere where you can get to. And then just some exceptions as questions we always get. The only pets that you can have in your space would be small fish. Any other pet you need to get certified, like through our accommodation center. We do not allow bed risers, unfortunately. I know it's a very popular college item. I love them myself when I was in college, but we do not allow those for safety reasons. However, there's going to be a very fun reel that is posted again on our social media that will show you how to adjust the height of your bed so that you can still maximize that storage under there. That'll be posted by the end of this webinar by yours truly. Earlier, like I mentioned, we do work with a vendor that sells us our only allowed fridge microwave unit. We do not allow fridges. We don't allow students to bring their own mini fridges up to a certain height. I'm forgetting the dimensions. I always forget the dimensions. So I'm sure that someone will ask in the chat, and then one of my lovely colleagues will answer. But it's usually like, there we go, Sheldon. Thank you so much. 3.5 cubic feet. So you want to make sure that if you do want a fridge larger than that, you do have to go through our vendor. They're good people. They always are running deals. So that's good. And then last, we always get a lot of questions about coffee makers. If it's a single serve coffee maker, that is the one that we allow. Any other appliances you will have to store in the communal floor kitchen. And, there are cabinets in which you can safely store your things, or you don't have to store it there, but you have to use it there. I should correct myself. You have to use it in the communal lounge space, but you are allowed to keep it in your room. And I think I'm on the next slide as well. Yes. So on our end, like I said, you all are on the before you arrive. I'm not on the slide of mine. That's someone else, isn't it? And I'm just going to keep going. Like I said, while you guys are also in the before you arrive section, so are we. So what we're doing on our end, we have Sheldon and his team preparing our facilities. That's making sure the rooms are up to code. We're doing painting in the rooms. We're making sure all the furniture is, fresh and new for everyone to come. We're organizing those room upgrades. Again, that would be Sheldon and his lovely team. And then we're also training our staff, our lovely Res Life professional whose slide I took, and I feel so bad now. They are putting together all the training materials so that the RAs and our CDs, who are master level trained professionals, and also our desk assistants, can be the most helpful when your students will arrive to campus in the fall. And then on the housing side, we're working through all of the communications and all of the assignments to make sure that when you get here, not only are you welcomed by our lovely Res Life staff, but you are also, you know where to go and you have the most up-to-date information on everything. I've yapped enough. I'm good.
Thanks, Shamira. Um, So the next kind of thing you want to make sure you're doing before you arrive is confirming your move-in time slot. So all of the time slots, whether you're arriving early or arriving during our traditional move to AU period, are both available through your housing portal. Those were released on Friday, so check your AU email if you haven't, or log into the housing portal to take a look. If you're a transfer student or looking to move it on to campus as a transfer student, those time slots will be released with your assignment. So just hang tight and we're going to get to those soon. If you don't love your time, you can continue to check the portal to reschedule. So when you log into your housing portal, you'll see right away on the page your time slot that is pre-booked for you, just kind of based off of if you're in a particular program or your residence hall. And if you want to reschedule it at all, you can see the little drop down just below it. You can click, kind of scroll through and see whatever time slots are available for whatever days. So you can kind of reschedule, self-select, and do all of that yourself. If you are kind of one of those people that needs to come in early, so request for early move-in, which is on August 16th, may be also submitted through the housing portal. The form is very basic. It's just confirming kind of what your desired time would be to come in, and then just the reason, because we want to make sure that we're able to accommodate as many people as possible for that time. And also just to note, we review every single one of them. Our team reviews all of your comments, and we do approve as space allows. So if you request the morning, but we're only able to accommodate the afternoon, you might just see a little bit of shift in that. And then also want to note that this is only an option available to incoming first-year and transfer students. But just want to note that once your request is confirmed, you'll see that time slot in a little bit of a different format, but still available on the portal with your move-in time frame and all of that jazz right available to you. And then the last thing you need before you arrive is our hang tag and cart tag. So we work with a lot of students coming in and we're trying to move a lot of different pieces on the days of move-in. So we just want to make sure that we have everything going to the right place. So the first thing you need is your car tag. So if you're driving down from Maine, you'll need to have that ready to go to slap on your dashboard. This is just really so we can quickly glance at your car and say, okay, this person's going to, for this example, Centennial Hall. We can just direct you into the correct line to send you to the hall and make sure that we're not, sending you all around campus. Campus isn't too big, but it can get complicated with so many people on campus. The hang tag will include information like your arrival gate, some important parking instructions. So it is just also helpful to have it on hand as you get ready to come to campus. And then the next thing that you'll need once you actually arrive to campus are your cart tags. So part of the Move to AU experience on Sunday and Monday, August 17th and 18th, those are we're going to be moving your stuff basically, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later, but we'll need to identify your items through these cart tags, which will have your information, your room number, and your cell phone number. Should that cart, knock on wood, make it misplaced, we can call you up and say, hey, we found your stuff. So we have that stuff ready to go. We recommend bringing more cart tags than you think you'll need, just in case you need more carts. So we want to rather, pin those to the carts and you have a couple of extra than your stuff getting lost. And then both of these, both the car and the cart tags, will become available in the housing portal in July. So once you kind of move yourself around and your time slots are more solidified, those will all become available right on the homepage of the housing portal. And if there are any questions of people taking ride shares or anything like that to campus, we do have a specific ride share one that will be a kind of different format. So it kind of signals to volunteers and to parking staff that you'll go to kind of an expedited unload zone. And you'll see that again all in the portal. And now I will shift it over to our next section, which is move-in day. So move-in day, you just get here and we will handle the rest of it. So just to give you kind of an overview of what the different days that we're talking about, this kind of move-in period is the bulk of it happens the 17th through the 23rd, kind of ahead of classes. But just want to highlight a couple of different kind of groups throughout this period. So for Saturday, our August 16th, which again is our early move-in day that we'll talk about a little bit more, there's some specific programming that students will embark on that day, whether it's Venture to Volunteer, one of our pre-orientation programs, our themed community housing participants. They will all move in that day so they can quickly go off and start their kind of programming immediately. And then again, Sunday and Monday, the 17th and 18th is our kind of full move to AU experience for our first year and transfer students. And then our sophomore and upper class move-in follows that throughout the week. And then if people are kind of running behind in the last minute, they can move in that weekend right before classes start on the 25th. But the big thing is that we want to get all first year and transfer students in the weekend before, so orientation can start on that Tuesday, which you will hear a little bit more about later. And now I will pass it over to Mason.
Everybody, so glad to be with you. We're kind of introducing ourselves as we go along. So my name is Mason Henderson. I am the Director of Housing. So I oversee a lot of this operation and what goes on throughout the year with our buildings and a lot of our processes, in addition to what our fine folks in residence life do as part of the housing and residence life experience. So I've been answering a lot of questions in the chat. We've got some great questions, a couple that we'll answer live towards the end. So stick with us. And yeah, Kaylee already mentioned, this is our kind of road to AU and what this actual move-in is going to look like when you come to campus. We're going to go over some maps in this next section, and I kind of like to pause here and let everybody know, yes, this is being recorded. Yes, we are going to show you some road plans for the upcoming year. Keep in mind that what Shamira said at the top of this webinar is most important. We will be communicating with you all throughout between now and August to make sure that you have the most up-to-date information, including what sometimes happens with our road plans, which is that we change some things based on local traffic, what we're doing with the city of DC and working with Maryland and Virginia to make sure we know what the best flow is on a given day. So while I'm going to put maps up on the screen, I want to give that caveat that you're going to see something that is largely what will happen on the day, but there will be so much communication. You do not need to memorize it. You do not need to feel like, oh my gosh, I saw it for 5-10 minutes while Mason was talking, and then on the day, I'm not going to know where to go. We will be exhaustively letting you know. And once you get here, we will have so many people helping you, directing you throughout campus, both on the Sunday and the Monday, the 17th and the 18th. But also we'll have some folks available on the 16th, the early move-in day, for the pre-programs that Kaylee mentioned. Though we won't be doing an assisted move-in like I'm about to describe on that Saturday, we'll still very much be a campus in operation, and we'll be making sure you are getting where you need to go. I will also use this moment to tell you that when I show the maps, you will realize that campus is not huge in terms of how it is designed. There's one main road. There are a couple little roads that offshoot from it. We're going to talk through that a little bit and give you all a sense of what we're looking at. And again, I'll just reiterate, card hang tags, cart tags. Those are things that are going to come off the portal. You're going to print them and bring them with you so that we can make sure your process is a seamless one. And again, all of that information is pre-filling from what's in your housing assignment on your housing portal. And the next slide is going to show us what early move-in is going to look like on the 16th. This is how you're going to get to your residence hall. So I'm going to point out some things here. But again, I'll remind the Saturday, the August 16th, is largely our unassisted move-in day for themed community participants, pre-orientation participants, and approved incoming students. Staff and volunteers will also be on site, but we're not going to be doing the level of kind of unpacking your cars using those cart tags as we will be on the 17th and 18th. It's a smaller move-in day because it's dedicated to those pre-programs. And we'll have a lot of students around. Some of our sophomores and seniors move in early as well. Kaylee's kind of flipping through these as we go. These are all examples of previous traffic plans. The main thing, and I'll have you pause here on the early move-in if we can. The main thing to note is that the north end of campus for this day is going to be one of the main areas where folks will enter. There is also a location on the south entrance where students who are coming to the Letts Anderson Centennial area will be entering from that direction. And you'll notice to the northeast of our campus, you'll see Bender Arena with the big AU logo. That's Ward Circle, where we're kind of like off campus at that point. Largely, you're not going to be using that unless you're coming around from north to south to use the south gate versus the north gate. And again, that might sound confusing. We're going to send a lot of this stuff to you once we verify what date you're moving in on and have it on your housing portal. But what you should know is that on this day, on Saturday the 16th, there will be 2 entrances to main campuses likely, and you'll be driving pretty much up directly to your building, unloading your car. And some areas will have some folks to assist with traffic direction. The graphic that we're on right now is the Hughes, McDowell, Cassell, Leonard area. Some of those are first-year halls or have themed communities in them. That's an area that's a little bit more congested in terms of traffic. So we'll have some folks letting you know where you can park and directing you a little bit. But as you progress, you're basically unloading your car, going up to your room, and unpacking your things. Before you go up to your room, you're going to get information on how you are going to get your AUID that day. And we'll share more information about that before move-in. But for the 16th, it'll be more of an individual process in terms of going to the garage first, getting your ID, and then heading to your residence hall room. And we'll share more information about that as we've kind of confirmed some things with campus and city partners or local partners, I'll say. So that's early move-in August 16th. The next days, Sunday the 17th and Monday the 18th, are a little bit more structured in terms of what's happening, mainly because this is when all of our AU staff, our volunteers, our moving companies, neighbors that want to come out and help us who are supporters of AU, past and future Eagles that want to help out students that are current Eagles, that are here volunteering to help you move in. We are going to be taking on a lot of the heavy lifting, which involves us unloading your cars for you and having you and your family, parents, families, you and your student will stay with the car. We will unload everything and then send you on your way to go get your student ID, to go get welcomed at the Mary Graydon Center. And Ben will talk about that here in a minute. But this road plan is essentially outlining that. It's very similar to what we just showed, but the biggest difference here is that there's one line of traffic coming through campus. It's going to enter on the north end, right by our Katzen Center. Again, you don't need to know any of that yet. These will be shared as we go. And basically, you're going to come through one big long line of cars as we kind of divert you off to the residence halls that you need to go to, following the unloading of your car and us taking carts full of your stuff from your car up into your residence hall room. We will actually send you on your way to go park at one of our 3 or 4 parking areas on campus. Bender Arena, which is our main one in the middle of campus, Katzen Art Center, which is on the north end there, where those yellow arrows begin on the right-hand side for the south side move-in. And then we have 2 other garages and areas that we can use if we need to on East Campus and underneath our School of International Service building. So more of that will be shared, but the main thing to know is along this route, there are going to be dozens of us welcoming you to campus and making sure that you know where to go. It's really not the kind of thing where you can get lost. There's going to be a line of cars. You're going to know exactly where we're going. And if you start to turn or do the wrong thing, those hang tags will help us wave at you and say, hey, let's make sure we stay in this line so we're getting you where you need to go. So it's really not something you can mess up. But we'll share more information just because I know folks driving to DC can be a little stressful. Coming in off of Massachusetts Ave on the northwest side of campus can be stressful. We'll have some more information about that later, but there's a way to approach campus that's a little bit more simplified that again is coming in on Mass Ave on these 2 days from the northwest, from the Bethesda, Maryland region. We'll share more information about that, but just keep all those things in mind. You're going to feel very much shepherded through the process. Okay. And I already talked about this a little bit, spoiler alert, but here are some great pictures for me to kind of rehash it. What you see here are folks unloading their cars and carts, and you see our lovely volunteers and our moving staff and our housing and residence life staff actually using those cart tags. If you look closely, you can see them in the picture attached to these carts, using all those materials to unload your cars for you and getting your stuff up into your residence hall before you ever set foot in the building. From here, you're actually going to go and spend some time with our fine folks in orientation and over at the dining hall in the Mary Graydon Student Center. And again, I mentioned you'll be parking your car after it's been unloaded before you do any of that. So it's a really seamless process. And we probably have some questions about just the time it takes. And I'll just note here that generally speaking, the unloading your car is the fast part. For those that have paid attention to their housing portal, you've seen a move-in time slot that probably begins, some of them are on the hour, but many of them are at the 20 and 40-minute mark of each hour. We do 20-minute increments. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to take you only 20 minutes to get through that line of cars. It is a process. We will be making sure you have a good time all along the way, but we do a pretty good job of getting you through that line of cars once you get onto main campus. And then once you are to your residence hall, we are unloading you very, very quickly, usually in under 5 minutes, and then sending you on your way to go park. And everything gets easier once the car is unloaded, I have been told. And now I will hand it off for another introduction midway through.
All right, it is my time to shine. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ben Juliana. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the Associate Director of Orientation. So as this title says, while everyone is moving your stuff, students should make their way to the Mary Graydon Student Center. And that is where we will go through a couple of different check-in processes that we can see outlined through the 1, 2, 3, and 4 here on the screen. Similarly to what Mason said about the driving maps, please don't feel the need to memorize this map. We will have plenty of directional signs and orientation leaders and staff around the Mary Graydon Student Center to help you all out. But once you get your cars unloaded, the first step is really coming to pick up your one card. This is something that we've been stressing to all the new students through our New Eagle newsletters that come out every Wednesday evening, to please upload your one card photo online through the new student checklist. And they're going to be able to pick it up where that big number 1 is in the bottom left corner of this diagram. If you don't upload your photo before the deadline, you're going to have to stand in a really long line to get your photo taken. So we really do encourage you to get it uploaded through the new student checklist as quickly as possible. Once you go and pick up your one card, then you actually check into new student orientation, which is where my staff comes into play. Here is where you're going to get your orientation leader, your name tag, some swag that we have for you, and a better understanding of what to expect throughout new student orientation over the course of the next 4 days or so. NSO takes place from Tuesday, August 19th through Friday, August 22nd, from about 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and it is required for all new students. So you're going to learn a lot about what that entails during that NSO check-in process at that number 2. Following the arrows to number 3 is where you're going to check in with housing residence life. I know I'm like the one person that's not in HRL on this screen, but HRL will have, I believe, a QR code for you to check in manual or virtually. And then they also have staff and RAs there to help you out just in case there are any glitches or whatnot. The last thing that we're going to ask you to do in the Mary Graydon Student Center is join us for the Campus Partner Fair or the Resource Fair. And that's where students and their families are going to be able to explore a number of really fantastic resources that we have here for you as students. There's the next couple of days once you get to campus, there's chock full of a lot of information. So this Campus Partner Fair is a really fantastic way for you to kind of meander your way through those resources all on your own. Pick up your UPass. If you're not familiar, a UPass is it's a little ID card that all students at AU are able to get, and it allows them free metro rides throughout the entire academic year as well. So that's something that you're able to pick up at the resource fair that you're definitely not going to want to miss out on. And after you go through the campus partner fair, hopefully the plan is for you all to head back to your residence hall, and at that point, all of your stuff will be delivered to your room. And we will be good to go from that point. I do see a note in here asking, how do they know if your one card photo is accepted? By and large, no news is good news. So if you don't hear back from the one card office, that means that your one card photo has been approved and you are good to go. It's only if they come back to you to say that this isn't accepted for whatever reason. But if you don't hear from the one card office, that means that your photo has been approved. Mhm. All right, I think we're good with this slide. Perfect.
So who's here to help? And so my name is Chris. I'm an associate director for Residence Life. And so I am among those we would consider HRL staff along with most of the people on this call. And so we're talking about our professional staff, our community directors, our leadership teams throughout, as well as our resident assistants. And so these are the student leaders who live on your floor with you and will get to meet you first day when you move in. They will work to connect you to campus resources, host events in the halls and things of that nature. And so they're a really great group, but they will be there as well. Our move-in volunteers. And so these are campus partners from all across campus. It could be anyone from any office. And so it's always great to connect with folks, share your name, see what office they work in, see how you can connect as a student because there's a lot of great resources on campus. AUPD will also be there as well. And of course, our MGSC staff in the Student Center with Ben and the rest of the team helping you check in. And so please connect with us. You can ask anyone for assistance. If they don't know the answer, they will connect you with someone who does know the answer. This is a large operation and we spend a lot of time planning it, right? And so please let us know what you need. Please let us know how we can support you, even if you think the answer isn't out there, and let us meet you in the middle.
All right. And we've made it to kind of section 3. So, we've prepared you to arrive to campus. We've moved you in, and now we will help you get settled in. And I will pass it off to Sheldon.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Well, the first thing that I want to talk about, which is very important, is unpacking your room. And that's completing your room inventory form. So I always compare this for the parents in the room to when you move into an apartment and you have to complete anything that is wrong within your apartment before you move in. And that is very important. So I'll say a couple of things about this very quickly. When each of our new Eagles and your students move into their rooms, we expect them to survey their bedrooms in the areas that they live in and to make notes about things that they find are not the same as when they move in. So if it's not a perfect condition, they should be saying something about it. If there's a hole in a wall, they should be saying something about it. Regardless if they think their roommates have said anything or not, they should be saying something when they move in. It is very important for all of our students to have a very good snapshot of how their room looks in when they move in. I will say that obviously our resident assistants, they go through and they obviously do an assessment of how the room looks before they actually get there. But it is very important if there's anything that's a discrepancy between what the resident assistant has put on that RIF and what they are seeing, they should absolutely be mentioning that so that the resident assistant can notate that damage within that RIF. After that, and basically, and we give you a few weeks to be able to do that, obviously. And there are certain, even if you don't, for some reason, and I want to say this, if there's for some reason when they move in, they don't notate that damage, they can email housing@american.edu and notate that damage, and I will actually update their RIFs so we can make sure we have a very good snapshot of how the rooms look when they check in, according to them. The next thing is that to avoid being charged at the end of the year, and which is why I said they need to notate this in the beginning. If there is something that is a damage that is not notated when they move in on their room condition report, they will be charged. So we need to make sure that if they're moving in and they have damages, they're absolutely listing those damages. And obviously there's an appeals process, but just on the front end, if they can list those damages and we can go over those before they move in, that's helpful. Next slide. And the last piece before the next slide is that obviously there are opening floor meetings where those things will be discussed. So the RAs will go over that with the students when they move in. But again, important, if they move in and there are damages that are not listed on the RIFs, they need to make sure they are listing those. If you can go back one slide for me, please.
All right, it is me again. So some important dates as we're considering this move-in process. First of all, you are able to mail some of your belongings to campus. We do have a UPS on campus. I know there were questions and comments about that in the chat earlier this evening. You are able to ship it to campus, but they ask that you don't do it more than 3 days prior to your arrival, just because who knows where we will be able to store all of that stuff. So if you are shipping stuff to campus, we just ask that you wait until 3 days prior to your arrival, and then you are able to ship it. Another important date is family and supporters orientation for all of the parents and families on the call with us this evening. Those orientations are going to take place on Sunday, August 17th or Monday, August 18th, beginning around 3:30 or so and lasting for about 3 hours until 6:30. These orientation programs are the same on either Sunday or Monday. We offer it twice to really align with when your student is moving onto campus. So if your student is moving onto campus on Sunday and you want to go to the one on the 17th, you're able to do so, and you don't need to go to the one on the 18th. It's going to be the exact same process or vice versa. That being said, you don't have to go to the orientation session that on the day that your student is moving in. So if your student moves in on Sunday and you want to go to the one on Monday, you are absolutely able to do that. We just offer the same program twice to give you an option for which one you are able to choose. There are a couple questions about whether or not FSO is going to be recorded. Unfortunately, I don't have that answer with me. I've made a note of it, and I will talk with the colleague who is in charge of it to make sure that we do have a recording and it's up on the family webpage as well for those that aren't able to participate in it. So I don't know if it is going to be recorded, but I will make sure that it is. After everyone moves in, that is when new student orientation or NSO begins. And that should say Tuesday, August 19th. That's my apologies. So it'll be Tuesday the 19th through Friday the 22nd from about 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. or so. So students should expect to be busy with NSO throughout that entire time period. And during that time, you are going to be able to meet your orientation leader. You're going to be able to meet new and returning students, as well as a number of faculty and staff. And then you're going to be able to learn about a number of the resources that we have to help students succeed here as well. It's a really fun, high energy time, and it is required for all new students for both first year and transfer students. Following new student orientation is our welcome week, which we call All American Welcome. And you can see listed on the screen there a couple of different activities and programs that we have planned for you all. All-American Welcome activities actually begin the evenings of NSO. So there are some that start on Tuesday the 19th after 5 p.m. And they go through the evenings of NSO, and then they also go through that following weekend as well through the first week of classes as well. So it's about the 19th through the 30th, if I can imagine that calendar correctly, are the dates for our All-American Welcome. And again, it's evening programming as well as all-day programming once new student orientation has completed. You can see here, it's not required, but it is encouraged. It's a really fantastic way for you to meet new students, meet returning students, and enjoy campus and what it has to offer you. I do see a question right there about signing up for orientation. New student orientation, you're going to be able to register in early July. Um, all students should be receiving the New Eagle newsletter every Monday evening that comes out of my office, and that has information for you through this transition period. And in a couple of additions or issues, we're going to be talking a lot about NSO and the NSO registration process as well. So that is going to come out in early July. But don't worry about that yet. We intentionally haven't mentioned anything about that yet because we're still finalizing what that registration process is for you all on the back end. But that is what to expect after the move-in process.
Perfect. Now, I know we went through a lot of information here, and we are still diligently trying to answer some questions, and we'll have some time here at the end to answer some out loud. But if you do have more detailed questions or any personal questions that you want to contact us and ask, you can contact us via email, housing@american.edu. Obviously, if it's on the top of your mind right now, I recommend sending an email because we are not open formally to answer your call. But if you are on the East Coast, we are open 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. And you can feel free to give us a call at our phone number. We do also have a live chat feature Monday through Friday, 1 to 4 Eastern time. So if you have just a really quick question that you want a really fast answer or just a link to a website, you can hop on the live chat with us and get that resolved really quickly. And then, like Shmira mentioned, feel free to follow us on social media. Home at AU is our Instagram, and then we do have a Facebook, AU HRL. We do like to post some informational stuff on our Instagram as well as some fun things. So right now we have as we speak, the video to how to raise and lower your bed is going to be going up. We have some fun photos and getting ready things as we approach move-in. So definitely follow us if you're interested in learning more.
And then I'll pop on one final time to say if you have any questions about new student orientation, about family and supporters orientation, you can reach out to either of those two emails. You can also feel free to call us at that phone number. And similar to Kaylee and the HRL team, please feel free to follow us on Instagram at AU Orientation. We have a team of student leaders that are working over the summer to really zhuzh up what our Instagram looks like. So that's going to be coming down the pike really soon, and I'm excited for you all to see it.
So we've now gotten to the end of our formal presentation. If you've been sitting on a question, feel free to use the question and answer box. And I do know we have a handful of questions that we would like to ask and answer out loud. So Mason, I'll ask you the first question.
Sure.
If you move in early, will there be dining facilities available?
Really great question. So we will start offering full dining service starting on during the lunch hours on Saturday the 16th. So when you're moving in as part of that new student orientation on the 16th, again, I think our earliest time slot for early move-ins on that day is 9 to 10:30. I think I have that right. It's something like that. That'll give you time to get moved in, and then again, we'll open for lunch in the terrace dining room, which is our dining hall on main campus. And then throughout the weekend, there will be some additional options. As we get closer to Welcome Week, which I know Ben mentioned, you'll see a lot of our retail dining options. Whether that's I'm trying to think, the Panera or the Starbucks or all the different shops and spots around the dining hall, which again, many of them are located in the Mary Graydon Student Center. We'll have those kind of satellite locations opening up as we reach a more full capacity when our full campus is kind of live with the rest of our returning students. But the dining hall will be the main go-to place, especially starting that weekend, in addition to all the great events and things that we'll have going on. Spoiler alert, many of them will have food at them. So keep that in mind as well. But yeah, you'll have an opportunity to get in the dining hall right when you get to campus on the 16th.
Another question I've seen, just various forms of if you're coming to campus without a car, or if you're coming from the airport, is the other thing. So if you're using a ride share service like Lyft or Uber, we will have specific ride share drop-off zones. So those are specific zones that you'll pull straight up into instead of getting into the queue of cars, that will have volunteers and staff there to unload that vehicle right away so that rideshare driver can vacate campus as quickly as possible, and get you moved in. If you are coming to campus without a car, so if you're taking public transportation like the metro, one of the metro buses, our shuttle will run on a little bit of a different route than normal, but it will run to main campus and will direct you to kind of where to drop off and where to kind of walk into campus from there. So absolutely can get to campus without your own personal vehicle, and we'll have all the kind of assistance available for that as needed.
And I'll just add on to kind of reiterate, always bring your cart tags and your hang tags just in case. We always have opportunities where we think we've planned perfectly for someone to come and get right into their residence hall, and then they end up leaving their stuff with one of our volunteers, and then oops, all of a sudden we don't know where it's going. We have a solution for that, but it takes a little bit of time. So especially for those of you using public transit or using lifts and rideshare, just make sure that you've got those with you. That way, when you get dropped off, again, you're not going to have as a new first year student or a new transfer student, you're not going to have your ID yet, probably. So rather than lugging your luggage all the way over to the Mary Graydon Student Center to get your ID and then going back to your room, what we'd like you to be able to do is drop them off kind of at our cart unloading station. In order to do that, bring what you can with you. The car hang tags, the vehicle hang tags are also helpful for your rideshare driver, because that will let us know, hey, you're here to get to Centennial, and oops, you've entered campus at the north side rather than the south side. We can redirect you and redirect your Uber, Lyft, rideshare driver, whatever you're using, to get you to the right location. So those car hang tags are really helpful, even if you're handing it to a driver when you get in the car and saying, just put this on your dash when we get to campus.
Some questions about, you move in and then you kind of want to come back and forth to campus, maybe to run to the Target or to run to grab groceries. We will have general time frames available for each day. Typically, we run move-in between 8 and 3 p.m. on each of our days. But if you're coming back and forth to campus, I would definitely recommend parking in what we call our East Campus parking lot, which is kind of away from the major action and away from the longer lines of cars. So if you are someone that's coming back and forth to campus, obviously we would love to have you, come back and forth, but there's a couple of different parking areas so you don't get caught in the main traffic of students moving in for the first time. Again, our shuttle is also available, so if you want to leave your car in the Katzen Arts Center or in Bender Arena and jump on the shuttle and head to Tenleytown, which is our kind of nearest neighborhood. We have a Target right there. We have a Whole Foods. We have a Wegmans. a Lidl, the metro is right there, so you can jump on that and kind of go anywhere throughout the city if there's a particular store that you would like to go to. That's kind of closer to downtown, but you can absolutely come and go throughout those days. But typically, yeah, we're going to have traffic on campus between kind of 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. You can kind of anticipate that daily. Um, Great question that's being answered right now, but is there a limit of number of people to allow to come with you as students? I think everyone here probably has a different answer. I think for me personally, because I know myself, I wanted to keep it very small because I can get, easily kind of anxious or stressed trying to entertain a lot of people on what a day that I find really important for me. So I just had my immediate family come. But if you want to feel really supported, you want, grandparents, aunts, uncles, feel free to bring them to campus. We're happy to welcome them as well. But it's all kind of a personal preference, is what I would say. Other people here might want to
Yeah,
input
and
that.
I'll add that, that applies to like the move-in piece. That doesn't really apply to, those people staying overnight with you in your space. And so that's an entirely different conversation where, they really wouldn't be able to do that because you would have a roommate. The space is not big enough for, all of these people. And we have guest policies and things of that nature. And so, yeah, to help you move in, please, do what makes you feel comfortable.
And I'll add on, Chris brings up a really good point. Generally speaking, the day is going to go by very, very quickly. There's so much going on. We really try and take most of the pressure out of the boring stuff, the stuff that maybe feels a little bit less meaningful. So I can't remove, unfortunately, all of the pressure of driving into DC and getting onto main campus. But once you get here, the reason we're doing so much to unpack your belongings, get them to your room, and get you off to the areas where there is programming available, and also just more space for you to kind of walk the campus and drink it all in on the day, is because the day is going to go by really fast. And to Chris's point, there will come a time where, you are breaking out those tissue boxes to say goodbye and the tears are starting to flow. That's going to happen too. So we want you to feel like you're not necessarily restricted to the residence halls themselves. We talk to parents, families, supporters, students every single year. And so much of the focus at this stage in June is on which building am I going to? What am I bringing? Where am I parking the car? When you get here, you will be amazed at how much of that just kind of falls away. And once you're out of your car, you're going to be walking around, taking in the campus. You're going to want to be spending time with the people that you've brought, whether that's a few or many, that's sort of up to you. But then we really want to make sure, as things wind down, and again, we've talked a little bit about the programming. We've had some good questions about what programming will go on that we've answered in the Q&A. But once we get towards the evening, you want to leave enough space for also your student to kind of relax into their space. And students, I know you're all are feeling this as well. You want to get started on your welcome week, and you want to get started on, your university career and your kind of first day and night with us as an Eagle. So we try and build in as much time as possible. If you're getting here at 8:20 in the morning versus if you're getting here, I saw a great question in the chat, at 2:40, whatever it is, that process, the actual move in, the moving of belongings and the stuff goes by so fast. We make it so that you all can spend time again in the student center, in the dining hall, meeting folks on campus, talking to our volunteers, talking to our faculty and staff who are going to be here with you, and then saying your goodbyes and doing your well wishes before the first evening.
Some additional questions about shipping. So if you ship boxes in advance, do you need to pick them up, or are they delivered to student rooms? Mason, go ahead.
Yeah, just because I'm just going to jump back in. I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot, but because I've been watching us in the chat, I'll try and figure out the differences between shipping options. So I think from what I understand in the chat, not in the Q&A, there are two really main resources. There are a bunch of different ways to get packages here on campus. The main resource for understanding just doing kind of your Amazon shipment, your United States Postal Service, your whatever it is, getting items to campus ahead of time, that is not into your room ahead of time, that is to our mail services. They have a great website. that lets you know what sizes they accept, don't accept, and then where those packages are going to end up on move-in day, so that you can come and pick them up. We kind of split out our mail services into different kind of usually 2 or 3 satellite locations that are closer to residence halls so that you can go and grab things that have been delivered ahead of time. They also have a nice window of time, which I think I saw folks posting in the chat as well. Some of you have been talking about, for those of you who have found they're a great partner and we work with them, they're a partnered organization, the UPS store on campus. The UPS store will do some shipping options for you that are a little bit more robust. And I think that's where I saw, and I know this is being recorded, don't quote me on this, but I know someone put in the chat the $45 amount from the UPS store. I think that's correct by box, but their website will have that information. And that's actually a service that it's not, they're an AU affiliate and they're very much on main campus. They're right in the Lydecker Tunnel, where right next to Bender on that map that we were just showing. They will work to actually have boxes packed up, basically flat chip boxes that you can pack up, send early, and then they will deliver them to your room ahead of time. And that's where you see kind of those rates coming into play. I know those are floating around in the chat, so I kind of wanted to grab that one just so everybody knows. That's a specific service that, again, is an affiliate of our campus. And again, they have a storefront right on campus, but that's where you'll see a specific rate. Anything else, you're going to be paying, you know, if you have Amazon Prime and you're Amazon Priming something, if you're doing a USPS shipment, you're going to be paying, you know, whatever the rate is for your package, however much it costs. So just keep that in mind. The UPS store is a great option. And they also do some awesome options for us after you're through your first year. I know that feels like so far away, but to store some of the things that you don't want to bring home with you, and they do the same service. So they will store over the summer, over the winter months, or over a study abroad period, and they will do that installation in your residence hall room. They work very closely with Sheldon's team and housing operations to make sure that that can happen. But that's the difference between the two. One is very much your standard sending things in the mail ahead of time, where they will be received as long as they're not too big or not too early based on what's on the mail services website. And then a specific service, and there are others that will do it, but many won't drop off to your room, your residence hall room. And I will use this time to also say the UPS store on campus, and you'll find them linked on our webpage. That's our partnered vendor that we work with for storage and pre-shipment. So there are a lot of other companies that will promise to bring your stuff to campus. Make sure the UPS store, if you're going to use that service, generally speaking, they're the best deal and they're the only way your stuff is going to get guaranteed successfully into your room ahead of time. Yeah, I think we covered it, but anybody else jump in if not.
Now you got it.
I think you did a great job.
And again, you can always email us and we will provide further clarification. We are always willing to assist.
Absolutely. So a question here about attaching the tags so they don't fall off. So all the resources to attach any of your cart tags to the carts themselves will be provided by our office. So no need to worry about, you know, them falling off or anything like that. We have everything under control. For early move-in, is it unassisted? How does it work when with the carts that day? Do you fill the carts and then go to park? What does that look like? This is a question for
I said I was going to answer it live. I was going to try my look at it because I think I understand what happens on early move-in. And Keno Frank, if I answer this question wrong, someone's going to bail me out. My understanding on early move-in is that the main difference or the reason it's technically unassisted is because on our assisted move-in days, you are expected to stay in your car while the movers unpack and you will go and park. With unassisted, while there will be volunteers around to help you unload your car, and while I think we might have some movers around, you cannot leave your car there because we don't have anyone to kind of like regulate that process. So everyone will help you unpack your car. You will go up and also put any items in your room you'd like to, but then you have to come back down immediately and go park. It's not a situation where you stay in your car and kind of have people do it for you, although, you know, there will be tons of people around to help you unload your car. I've never seen an early move-in day where we don't help at all. We do help as much as we can. But that's really the only difference is that that process looks a little different. And I saw some head nods, so I think I got it right.
Yep, you got
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
right. We do provide, and I'm gonna have to mute myself because my dog is going nuts. But we do provide carts for early move-in. We have that covered, and we actually have assistance for early move-in to provide those carts. but it is not the full rollout experience, obviously, like the first two first year moving days are on the Sunday and Monday. I'm gonna mute myself, but that is what the
And what Shamir is describing is very important for those that are early move-in and in the Cassell, Leonard, McDowell, Hughes area. As Mason was sharing, that area is very, very, very tight. And so we will have a little more early move-ins over there than we typically do. And so yeah, just make sure you get your stuff up there and then you come straight down and move your car, please.
And again, we'll have many people reminding you of what all of this is going to look and feel like when you get to main campus on that day. So we'll have some traffic assistance and we'll have some flow. Our numbers are smaller on the justifiably so. We want to make it so. Our pre-orientation programs are themed communities. Specific groups that have a programmatic need are here on the Saturday. But that just means we're working with a little bit more manageable traffic pattern. So it's not as, for those of you here who are here on Saturday to move in early, you'll see if you're up and about on the Sunday and Monday, what it looks like when it's, hundreds and hundreds of cars all coming at that scheduled period. Which I'll actually really quickly just use to kind of as a jumping off point for, we've had some good questions about the 20-minute windows. Generally try and stick to that within reason. We know that many of you are going to be traveling from afar. And when you get to DC, we are no strangers to the 20-minute drive becoming a 40-minute drive. So shoot for that time as much as you can. But on the day, we will work with you. We really want to make sure that you stick to your time and that you're not, for example, I'll use my person who's in the chat, our 2:40 p.m., you're not showing up at 8:20 because that'll really throw everything off and it'll be all congested and no one will get moved in on time anyway. So stick to your time as much as you can, but don't panic. You don't need to call anybody if you're running 10 minutes late. We're not going to bar you from the Glover gate and entering campus. It's really a helpful way for us to kind of space out the traffic. And again, I mentioned our partners. We work very directly with DC Police, Metro Police, and with local traffic in the area. Because we are on a main thoroughfare, it is really important that we are not backing up traffic onto Massachusetts Avenue or on Nebraska Avenue, which kind of run perpendicular around our campus right up against it. So we'll be in touch with them throughout the day, but that's also why we kind of manage it. Versus Saturday, where we have a little bit more wiggle room, there are less cars coming to campus. So you'll see our move-in time slots are a little bit more general, a 90-minute period versus a 20-minute one. That's kind of the difference in terms of the scope and scale. Yeah, but be prepared to, we'll have carts for you, as Sheldon said, be prepared to move in, to unload your car and bring things up to your room, come back down and move your vehicle. We will remind you that on the day. And we'll also share more information as we get closer about what the order of operations will be to get access to your room. Because in order to get into your room, you'll need your AU1 card. I'm not sure that we mentioned this, but we're a tap access campus. So you're not going to get hard keys. It's all going to be on your AU ID and your one card. So if we decide we want to have you go there first, we will kind of communicate that ahead of time. We'll give you instructions on where best to park, and then you'll go move your car with all your stuff over to your residence hall. And again, end to end of main campus, where most of our first year buildings are, we're talking about a 7 or 8 minute walk. So it's really going to be doable on the day. We'll slow you down a little bit because there'll be a lot of pedestrians, but we'll make sure that everybody's moving through the campus safely and efficiently on Saturday, as well as, of course, Sunday and Monday.
Awesome. So I see a couple of questions about the STEP program. So I want to just take a moment to acknowledge that. So the STEP program is run through the Center for Student Belonging. So it's actually not run through our office. So if you are a student within this program that's arriving to campus very shortly, I recommend contacting the Center for Student Belonging to just clarify any information, to kind of confirm, where you're staying and things like that. We, as the Housing and Residence Life Office, will work with the Center for Student Belonging to talk through the transition from your summer space with the program to your fall assignment. So we will work with you towards the end of the summer and after the program concludes to transition you into your fall assignment. But we will kind of get that information kind of once you arrive to campus and kind of learn more about you after that period. So I definitely recommend, thank you Ben is kind of sending the information out in the chat. If you need the information about that Center for Student Belonging, feel free to reach out to them so you can kind of get situated before you arrive to campus shortly.
Please check your email as well for your student because they
Yes.
emailed early June.
Thank you, Chris.
I did see a question about lofts. I just wanted to clarify because there's always questions. There are not lofts in every single building. I was able to answer the question below, but just to be aware, you cannot have a loft if you live in Frequency Apartments, Cassell Hall, or Nebraska Hall, and it won't even allow you to select that when you go to purchase the loft, so you don't have to worry. And I did answer Mrs. Nancy's question regarding whether or not we can fit 3 feet under the bed. That is available, but again, there are certain buildings where you cannot have lofts at.
All right.
I'll answer the parking question actually live, Kaylee, just because I think it's good to reiterate. So I called out some of the locations earlier. We've got a good question of like, where am I going to be parking the car on the 16th, which is a good question. It's less of a route that's managed. We'll send that information out and give you some specifics. The closer we get to that date, again, a lot of that's going to depend on if we want you to go to the Mary Graydon Center first, we'll tell you that. If we want to go to your residence hall first, then we'll tell you go to your residence hall and we'll direct you. But you'll get more information about that the closer we get and as we kind of firm up our traffic plan. Generally speaking, the 4 locations, and I'll just mention them so you have them in your ear. Bender Arena parking is our main central parking. It's right in the middle of that map where you saw the building with the AU logo on its roof in our graphics. That's going to be like, it's really close to the dining hall. It's in the middle of all our residence hall buildings. That's the majority of where cars are going to be parked on the 16th. And it's likely going to be where you go to park first if you're going to the Mary Graydon Center because it's actually closest. So that's our central parking garage. I also mentioned the Katzen Art Center parking garage, which is actually kind of just across the street. You go down into the building from our main campus. That's on Massachusetts Avenue. The Katzen Center Art Center building is mainly used for Sunday and Monday, the just regular, not early move-in period, because we'll send a lot of cars over there once they've been unloaded. But that's on the north side of campus and often available if the Bender Arena fills up. I mentioned briefly the School of International Service parking garage, which is accessible via Nebraska if you're going from north to south on Nebraska. We don't really use that garage very often, but if we do, we will direct you to it because it's not as easy to get to. And then East Campus, which we didn't actually call out on our campus maps so much, but that's generally an area where we have 3 residence halls in that area. They are primarily for sophomores and upper division students, some graduate students as well. So you probably won't spend a lot of time there unless you're doing what Kaylee mentioned earlier and parking in that above ground lot or the below ground lot there to go grab groceries in the middle of kind of the hullabaloo that's going on main campus until about 3 p.m. each of the days on Sunday and Monday, the 17th and 18th. But that's an area where it's across Nebraska Avenue from main campus. It's accessible by either Nebraska or New Mexico. If you look at a map, this will make more sense. And primarily you want to enter it by going south to north, so the opposite direction if you're trying to get to the SIS garage. And again, we won't use that area unless we really have to because it involves walking across the crosswalk to come to main campus. But it is an area where evening move-ins and some of our international students or graduate students that are moving in different areas around first-year move-in, we'll use that for them as well. But as you're getting familiar with campus, it's a beautiful area. It's our most recently built set of buildings, so it was finished in 2017. So there's really great green space over there. And like I say, there are 3. There's a beautiful academic building. A lot of our STEM classes are over there, our science courses. We have conference space over there as well. So lots of really great stuff in that area. Your residence hall just won't be over there, so we don't want to send you there and have you walk across campus, if that makes sense. Chris has his hand raised, so I will pivot over to Chris.
Thank you. I saw some questions in the chat from Mariana. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing your name. That I wanted to answer live for folks. If you move in at any day, you can stay the night from that point forward. I'll just name that. Straight out of the gate, you're moved in, you're checked in. This is your space through the end of the academic year. And so if you move in the 16th or the 17th, and your roommate moves in the next day, and you're already moved in. I'm sorry. There's nothing that you need to do necessarily other than ensure that you are on your side of the room. And so when you go into the room, there will be two beds, two desks, two dressers, two of everything, right? And so one of everything is yours, right? And so if you move into the room and take over the whole room, then you would have to move it all back to the other side before they move in. We hold that line pretty closely for all of our residents. And so if you move in the second day and a roommate moves in the first day, then you should be able to expect the same thing, that one side of the room and one side of everything is clear and available for you to use. There isn't anything that you would have to specifically do in that scenario. And then after you move in, you go to orientation events, or you go to All-American Welcome events. And Ben was sharing earlier that they're still working out how to sign up for those, and they'll let folks know how to do that once that process is ready to be published. But that is typically what that looks like.
And a question we get every year, the first regular move-in day from someone who moved in on the 16th. So will your roommate necessarily be moving in at a time that you would normally be awake on a given day? That's not for us to say. You should talk to your roommate. You should know who they are by this point via your housing portal. But some of you who move in on the 16th or on the 17th will have a roommate that's moving in around 8:20 in the morning. And as you will know from just having completed your own move-in, they will probably be bringing some folks with them. So just keep that in mind. Coordinate just so you're aware. It always works out. I mean, the halls during this whole weekend, the halls are really bustling with activity in terms of volunteers and movers and everyone being around. So you're going to know that move-in is starting again for the next day. But we always hear from a handful of students that are like, oh my gosh, I didn't think about the fact that someone's going to be coming in with their parent or guardian, or a mover might be knocking in the door saying, hey, we're here to deliver a cart of someone's stuff right at 8:25 in the morning. So do keep that in mind. Try and coordinate. Someone asked a great question of, do roommates have the same time slots? Not necessarily, because everybody's got different travel plans, and we allow for some movement between move-in days to accommodate for that. We mentioned that in this presentation, how to do that. So just keep that in mind. It's kind of like a good, we'll call it a tips and tricks section kind of thing. It's just something to think about and be aware of. I will also note, because I never let these presentations go by without saying, in terms of tips and tricks for students, you probably need less than what you're planning on bringing. Whatever that means to you, however you want to take that, please think about that as you plan. I don't think we've said it yet, but we do a really great job of representing our spaces, our residence hall spaces online on our Housing and Residence Life webpage. We have virtual tours of virtually everything that exists in a residence hall, including lounges, including lobbies. Many of you have toured with us. We're so glad that you did, and we're so lucky to have you come to campus early. You may not have seen the exact residence hall room that you're going to be in. You may have toured a different building, or you may have seen one of our model showrooms. Use those virtual tours because it's a great way to click through and you can actually walk around and get a sense of the space. You'll also get a sense of what is in the room. And Chris just mentioned, like, there's two of everything in most spaces that are in double occupancy. That includes a bed, a desk, some storage. If you don't have an in-wall closet, you've got some standing storage like an armoire. If you're in one of our suite style rooms in Centennial Hall, for example, you've also got a bathroom. Those are all things that you do not need to bring. Your desk will have a chair, you'll have a bookcase, you'll have a bed. If you've ordered a loft, you'll have a loft. We want you to use our loft, don't bring your own. Similarly, do not bring a futon. You do not need it. It is not a fire-rated piece of furniture. All of our stuff is commercial residential grade. So if we see you bringing in large items that don't need to be in the residence halls during move-in, or if we go to unload it, we will kindly tell you, or whoever is driving the vehicle, hey, can you go ahead and take that back home? Or we do donations as well, but we won't actually deliver that into your residence hall room. We mentioned the what not to bring list. A lot of this is on it, but I just say all that to say, like, I think everybody on this call has talked to students throughout our years working in higher education and on American University's campus. My thing is like, you may think you need a floor lamp, but often you do not need a floor lamp. Floor space is at a premium. Don't clutter it up. You have lights in the room already. The other thing I will say is so many of you have been so inspired by Instagram and TikTok, and you have a very specific vibe that you're going for in your residence hall room. Please remember what Sheldon talked about when he talked about completing your room inspection form when you come into the room, so that you can let us know any kind of inherited damage or paint chips on the walls. There won't be much because we work very hard in the summer. But also remember that as you hang up those things that are going to really bring that vibe home for you, we have some great resources for how to successfully use command hooks, which are a great resource as long as you are uninstalling them correctly. If you don't, they will take the paint right off the wall, especially if you're in one of our buildings that are not cinder block, but are more of the drywall sheetrock. Centennial Hall is one of those. I'm just going to caution everybody. I charge almost every other room in Centennial every single year once Sheldon's done inspecting them and our RAs are done inspecting them, because some level of paint damage is occurring between the two roommates. So just keep that in mind. You do not need to go crazy with hanging things up on the walls. We encourage you to do so. There are some great resources on our website for how to do that successfully. The other one I will say is if you've got those really thin, and students will know what I'm talking about, really thin LED strips that stick themselves, whatever that costs you, go ahead and add at least $150 onto it, because that is what you'll be charged at the end of the year when it rips off the paint off the ceiling. Parents probably don't know what I'm talking about. Students definitely do. Don't use those lights if you can help it. Just some tricks of the trade that we've learned over the years. Anybody want to add anything else in terms of like what not to bring things to call out? Because I feel like this is a good space to do it. Go ahead, Chris.
Yes, to what Mason was saying about hanging things on the walls, some students also choose to use like putty. Definitely don't do that. That stains the wall, and then we got to paint it. Or those, I don't know what they are. They're like those like stretchy like hands that you can like stick on the wall. You like throw in, and it's like a those also stain the doors a lot. But if you do decide to use like tape, for example, we would highly recommend blue painter's tape. And not Scotch tape, not duct tape, not any other kind of tape you can find. But blue painter's tape definitely saves the paint no matter how long it's up there. So would recommend looking into that if you're not trying to risk it with the command strips.
Someone always, well, I guess no one's asked yet this year, but in past years, someone's always asking about bean bags. You don't need them. I'm just going to tell you. Like the floor space thing is like the best advice I can give all of you. Look at those virtual tours. Those bean bags take up a ton of space and they end up smashed into a corner all year because you're trying to move them out, and then they all leave during the winter break. Saw somebody else raise a hand.
I did. I would just say about cooking and stuff. Most of our residence halls do have kitchens in the lobbies, and there is some communal cookware. But if you wanted to bring some items to, a plate, a cup, things like that, there are places where you can, wash your dishes and all that kind of stuff too. So all of our first year buildings do have communal kitchens within our lounges.
To the question in the chat, what should you use besides blue tape? Because it doesn't seem that strong. Great, observation. When we say the blue tape, I'm talking about things like photos, things that are like that weight adjacent. If you're talking about like picture frames or anything heavier, I would recommend you go the route of the command strips. It's not that we're saying that we prohibit command strips. We're really emphasizing how you take them off the wall. And so sometimes you can just, take the thing off. You don't have to pull it from the bottom. We would recommend, following the box as best as possible and uninstalling it as it's designed. But yeah, for those heavier things, you will have to do something like a command strip.
I would also add, in terms of electronics, especially if you're thinking of like small appliances or whatever, anything you bring to a room should be able to be automatically turned off, like turn off on its own. So make sure to look into that feature if you're bringing anything like that.
And again, almost everything that we just said, I mean, we all got specific, which is hopefully helpful to you all in this webinar for the insider scoop. But a lot of this is on our like what not to bring list that is on our website. So don't feel like you're overwhelmed. We just definitely want you to have the feeling of like having a better understanding of it. Feels like you have to bring so much with you. So much is here already. Remember that you are in a residence hall room and you do not have an entire house worth of space to bring things in. There's a good question about laundry, which I
Some
think,
question about laundry.
yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Oh, do you want to go, Kayla, or you want me to go?
I can speak to part of it and then you can take some more.
Okay, great.
So all of our residence halls have laundry facilities on each floor, so you don't need to drag to the basement your stuff to do laundry. Depending on the residence hall and the kind of number of people on each floor, it's typically between 2 and 3 washers and 3 and 4 dryers, depending again on the number of people that you're sharing on the floor. All of our laundry machines connect to an app called Speed Queen, and that is primarily so you can pay for the machines using Eagle Bucks. So we do not take quarters. You don't need to bring your chunk of change down to the laundry room to pay for the machines. You can pay directly through Eagle Bucks. Also makes it very easy. If you need to reload any of that, you can reload it through the online portal, through the Eagle Bucks portal, which is really nice. Also through the Speed Queen app, you can see the machine availability. So instead of getting your stuff all ready to go, bringing it down to your laundry room and then seeing everything is full, you can check beforehand to see, you know, how long the cycle might have or what other floors, if you're really passionate about doing laundry at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, you can see the other floors that will be available in your building. You do have to provide your own detergent, you know, dryer sheets, anything like that. So we recommend obviously packing that or, you know, bringing that or having it available to grab from the grocery store. But yeah, laundry is available on all the floors and through the app. Anything I missed about laundry or laundry tips?
Don't overload the thing, please.
Yeah.
Um, I, every student, either knows what I mean or they do it by trial and error. But please try not to overload the thing. If you do, it's okay. Please tell us. It's the next thing that I would say. But this is really for things like comforters are a big offender where it's too big for the machine. And so just think about the space that you have. I know it costs, and so students also try to get as much laundry done as they can in individual loads. And so think about that as well, because when the machines go down, we have to contact Speed Queen in order to do the maintenance. And of course, that takes some time for them to get out to campus. And we want you all to have as many working machines on your floor as possible. And as they start to go down, then you have to start thinking about going to other floors. And that becomes an inconvenience for you all. And so, yeah, just thinking about that.
And Chris brings up a really good point. I don't think we've talked about it, but a little bit after you move in, for example, if you overload a washing machine or something, I don't know, the window blinds in your room, your shades don't work the way you hoped that they would, or maybe they're just, broken or they broke when you moved in. Just a couple different ways that you'll let us know those things. Sheldon already mentioned your kind of inspection that happens at the beginning of the semester. That's really just for us to take stock of how you entered the room and what you're going to occupy for the year, so that we're not kind of charging or assessing any damages on your behalf that were already there and inherited when you came in. Once you've been living with us and those things pop up, like broken window blinds or shades, or like an overflowing washing machine, we have 2 main ways of kind of achieving a repair or maintenance request. Our housing portal is the best way because it'll divert you to the appropriate resource depending on what your issue is. So the housing portal is the same place right now. You're going to look up your roommate information, your room assignment, your what's another thing that all the communication that we've been sending and posting there, your hang tags, your car tags, all that's there. When you move in, you're also going to have the opportunity to say, hey, there's something wrong with my room. Who do I need to talk to? And we've got a resource there will direct you either to Sheldon's team in housing operations for things like window blinds or in-room furniture that are quick fixes for us to come and replace something. Or if it's something more substantial, like a leak or like an in-room issue, hey, my AC isn't working, that's going to go to our 2Fix team, which is managed by our central plant, our 2Fix team. And we'll route you to the 2Fix email and support ticket line. They have call-in lines They have 24/7 service for the issues that would be listed there. So I just kind of wanted to note that as you start thinking about like what the year looks like. We'll talk to you more about that during orientation, during first floor meetings in the residence halls, and during welcome week. But do keep in mind that there are resources for you throughout the year should things go wrong or should you have a question. And again, if you have a question, you can always ask us and we'll tell you the appropriate resource to go to. I'll just grab really quickly we had some great questions. I think we've mostly answered. We do ask that if you're bringing, that you don't bring your own microwave to campus, and it has to do with what Anthony just said about making sure anything that's a cooking or a heating implement has to be fully enclosed, has to have an automatic shut-off feature. It's really hard to achieve the right kind of that thing with a microwave. So that is what you must rent from our MyFridge rental company if you are planning on using that. Again, Anthony mentioned it as well. We have kitchens on every single floor in the main lobbies that have microwaves in them. So you do not need to bring your own microwave. I know it feels like right now everybody's going to be making popcorn at the same time. You would be surprised at how free those microwaves are throughout the school year. And again, if you're going to bring one, don't rent it from our MyFridge vendor, which I think we've kind of explained this, but they're listed as one of our partners, much in the same way that the UPS store on campus is listed as a shipping partner. MyFridge Rental is where your microfridge unit which you can bring your own if you want. Sheldon has given some great dimensions in the chat and in the Q&A if you want to bring your own refrigerator, and then they'll provide microwave as well. That has to be provided by them. You cannot bring your own. Got a good question about just monitors, carbon monoxide smoke detectors. We basically have everything running that you would expect to need, and everything's up to code in our residential buildings. Our Letts Anderson Centennial area, because they're connected buildings, they have a ton of smoke alarms and heat alarms and monitors throughout the building. Not something you need to bring with you. That's something that we will have, again, per DC building code for a residential building. We'll have those available.
Great question just came in the chat about renter's insurance.
Get it.
Kaylee, I've
ASAP,
talked so much.
Julie.
Kaylee is so ready.
Oh, I
Get the
was
renter's
gonna
insurance.
offer it up to someone else, but I can go ahead and take it. So we actually this year partnered up with GradGuard. GradGuard is has been a partner with the university for many, many years to offer tuition insurance, but this year we are specifically offering renter's insurance through actually the housing portal. If students are going through their housing application, they can buy the GradGuard renter's insurance directly through the housing portal, or you can just visit the website directly. But we do recommend getting renter's insurance just as like a general coverage, or if you, as a family member, you have your home and you add your student to the renter's insurance, we would recommend that as well. So having renter's insurance, whether it's through GradGuard or through your own personal company, we do recommend it because you never know what could happen. Same thing with, your student's fridge could, leak. I'm just making something up, but it could leak and ruin your clothes. And I don't know how that would happen, but it could happen. And so you would want something to cover that. Or there could just be a general leak and, your laptop gets ruined. How can you replace it? So just to kind of cover those unforeseen circumstances, same thing with tuition insurance. If, everyone might feel really good right now and be like, yes, I will absolutely finish the semester. And then halfway through you go, oh no, I absolutely cannot finish it. Tuition insurance just kind of helps you and has that extra safeguard in place in case you want that tuition money back, should you be unable to finish out the semester or anything like that. So we do recommend it. It is not required to live on campus, but again, highly, highly recommended. And we do partner through GradGuard. If you had previously passed on the opportunity through your housing application, you can go back and kind of pass through that again, or you can just search American University GradGuard and the webpage will pop right up.
Now we're getting the good questions flowing about specific pieces of furniture, which I love because that always spurs that conversation. Folding chairs generally are fine. It's basically anything that's more like robust. So we used to call them like the butterfly chairs that kind of are collapsible. There are some different versions there that you can bring. Basically anything that is like sofa size, beanbag size is right on the line, not just because I hate beanbags, but because it's kind of in between depending on the size. And you also don't need them. Yeah. We're answering some of the other questions. One of the other things that I will just kind of call out as we're kind of moving towards the end, and again, want to give folks the opportunity to ask any and all questions that you might have. Do keep in mind what we were mentioning about what we're going to be sharing over the next 2 months. Again, we're still, to us, this still feels fairly early to throw a lot of this information at you. Many of you have just received your move-in time slots, so please keep in mind all the good resources that Shamira mentioned for our social media, for our simple things like our bed height raising video, but also like for just kind of like notes and reminders going into, again, we try and make it fun. We try and keep it about creating your home at AU, which so much of that is just about the little things that we're talking about and not necessarily about, wait, which gate do I need to come in and what hang tag do I have to print off? Like, again, try and really just think through about like leaving space for your experience on these days. So much of it is going to feel like a curated kind of, again, an assisted process throughout, even if you're moving on the 16th. I mean, one of the real benefits to moving in that early move-in day is that you're going to have some early programming that starts, which is a great way to kick off orientation that's specific to the sort of cohort that you're entering with, whether that's one of our themed communities, in any of our 3 themed communities, whether that's venture to volunteer, whether that's a pre-orientation group. Like, there are going to be things to do, and we want you thinking about that and less about like, what is the perfect model of air fryer that I need to get, which is generally, someone already answered this, but generally, as long as you're using it in the kitchen, mostly fine. But you also don't necessarily need an air fryer, but that's more towards the, you can probably bring it end of the spectrum for me. Beanbags are on the extreme opposite end of that spectrum. So keep that in mind. We will roll this stuff out as we get closer, and as we get closer to the day, it'll be much more logistical, much more about where your car is going to be going and what's going to happen logistically. And then Ben, I will say, if you want to note anything, our great partners for new student orientation are going to be communicating with you just as regularly. We had some great questions in the Q&A about making sure that you're on the mailer for the New Student Eagle newsletter, both for parent and families and for students. So we've got, we had up some of Ben's information. It's also in the Q&A somewhere for parents and families, as well as just generally new student orientation. Ditto for you guys, Ben. Like, we're communicating with you all at this point a ton over the course of the next few months, in addition to your first year advisors and all the things you have going on to get ready for classes. We're talking about the residential piece and orienting you to campus and the programming that's going to happen. You're going to have a good week and a half to have that experience. And then the 25th, I think that's the Monday. For those of you who have a Monday class scheduled, I was one of you when I was a first year student. Hang in there. The 25th is your first day of classes. I was an 8 a.m. Monday kid. So the struggle is real. I'm right there with you. You can do it. You'll do great. Kaylee, any final questions we want to like pull out? Final notes? Feel free to.
We have some couple of just random questions coming in, but I think we've just got them all answered. We'll give it a
And
second.
do you mind, Kaylee, just as we finish? I know folks will go and find the video, but if you want to put kind of our contact information up again, if you can. Sorry if you already closed out of the PowerPoint. And then maybe flip over to Ben's after a couple minutes, just so we can get the new student orientation stuff up as well. And we'll pause for another 2-3 minutes or so and see if there's anything that's coming up. But I think we have covered it. And yes, thank you for those of you who have noted. We do have a link for what we've mentioned, MyFridge. We've mentioned the UPS store on campus. Some of you have been mentioning the Dormify link, which is a partnered org that does it's kind of like a hub for sourcing like some of the most common residence hall items that you might need. So things like plastic hangers, things that you might be able to get at a department store, and they'll work to ship it to campus. That link should be live before too long, but it kind of depends on, we're still in the summer months with them and still determining what our lists are going to look like. So keep that in mind. I will say the Dormify link of the three, it's a great starting place, but don't freak out if that link isn't live. There are plenty of ways to get the stuff that you need. And when that link is live, you'll see there's an awful lot of stuff that falls into the beanbag category. I don't know how else to say it. There's going to be stuff that you look at and you're like, wow, that'd be really nice. And then when you really think about what we've said about like what you need, they're trying to sell you some stuff, which is really fun looking, but not so fun for 3 months before winter break. And then it'll come out of the residence hall. Things like floor lamps, things like extra furniture, things like, oh, the little desk hutches and things that for the most part you're getting anyway. Anyway, that's my note on the Dormify link. It's a good call out. We expect that it'll be live again, but just in case it's not, don't panic. That's what that link is really there for, sourcing some of those items. There are a lot of different ways to get there. And if you have questions, we can give you some recommendations for what's around campus even, just so you know when you get to campus, if you need to grab something, there's a couple of department stores and spots right metro accessible, less than a mile away. Ben has his hand raised.
Yeah, this goes a little bit back to the question about like what to bring for the move-in. Something that, in my experience, something that always gets forgotten that I would highly recommend not forgetting is rain gear, whether those are rain boots or a raincoat or an umbrella or all the above. It rains unexpectedly sometimes, and sometimes you don't have an opportunity to go out and buy that stuff before a storm comes in. So I would recommend bringing that stuff when you come here for move-in.
And Victoria put a great question in the chat, which probably is what spurred you, Ben, or you spurred her into asking this, but we talk so much about what not to bring. If anybody wants to jump in, mine is very simple. You will be surprised in your first year how, if you're anything like me, how little you thought about school supplies growing up. Although there were some years where I definitely was thinking about school supplies, the like years we had to start bringing binders were a nightmare for me. Simply put, notebooks, pens, and pencils, make sure you are well stocked. We have a campus store on campus that will help you out. But those first 2 weeks, it's such a simple thing that like you're like, oh my gosh, why do I never have a pen? And it's gonna feel, because you're away from home, it's gonna feel like 10 times worse and you're going to go into a panic. It's that really simple stuff for me that I recommend bringing that relate to your classes. And then if there's something special to you that you want to bring, again, we've talked a lot about what not to bring, but like I always tell students and families, like your first year especially, it's nice to have something from home. Even if you're going to see parents and families and friends in October when we start doing some of our like our larger kind of mid-fall programs for welcoming y'all to campus. It's nice to have something, whatever that is to you, whether that's a photograph or photo album, or for someone asked a great question about like, can I bring my computer monitor? Like, sure, if that's like important to you, like think about those things as well. I'll pass it around to other people.
I was gonna say, oh wait, I think I just forgot it now. That's really embarrassing. Never mind. I already forgot what I was gonna say.
I can go while you
forgetting a pen or a pencil on your first day, Shamira. Anthony, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, we're talking a lot about physical, items and things like that, but there's a lot of things you can bring that are just non-tangible. I think moving day is going to be very busy. It's going to be a lot of moving parts. We organize it to the best of our abilities, and we have it, pretty hammered down. It's a pretty well-oiled machine. But things like patience, positive mental attitude, open outlook on things, open mind, meeting roommates, being open to meeting new people, new experiences, meeting people from all over the world who may live on your floor. There's just, college is like the only time you'll have to live like this, to live in a community like this, to share bathrooms like this, to live with a roommate, maybe possibly in one small room. And, there's a lot that can happen. good, not so good sometimes, but just come with a positive attitude and open mind to be willing to communicate and navigate any of those situations.
I remembered it now, and I'm sad that I remembered it after Anthony, because that would have been a good note to end on. I was going to say that a lot of students end up bringing a ton of cleaning supplies, which, as someone who is cleaning like in their free time, I totally get it. But I promise you, students end up giving back bundles of cleaning supplies, which is nice to be, charitable at the end of the year. But I promise you, you don't need Comet, you don't need soft scrub, you don't need all that. And the only reason the only reason I'm saying that is because someone did ask this question earlier. All of our communal spaces are cleaned by our lovely housekeeping staff. Every morning they come in super early, and they're usually finished around, I think, like noon or 1. But of course, if you still want to bring your own cleaning supplies to then, give away at the end of the year, that's totally fine. But just trying to lessen one less thing for you to pack.
And we probably shouldn't end on bathrooms, but Centennial folks who have your own in-room bathroom, I don't know if we've already said it, those are not cleaned by professional staff. So keep that in mind, because it's the opposite of what Shamira just said. You'll be sharing that bathroom with a roommate and 2 other suite mates. Just keep that in mind. We will do some work with our facilities teams over the winter break, and we'll go through and do inspections to make sure we don't have any leaks in your shower, and they'll do some light cleaning. But keep that in mind. It's a long time from August 16th to, I don't know off the top of my head when winter break starts, but until like December, whatever. It's a long time. So keep that in mind in terms of in-room bathrooms for those
14th.
of you who are in Centennial. What'd you say, Kelly?
December 14th at noon is when the halls close.
Very good. Thank you so much.
Some lingering questions about outlets. Typically, a double occupancy room probably has 2 outlets per side and then a separate outlet for the fridge. So typically, if you're in like an Anderson or a Let's, the built-in has a separate outlet area for your fridge. And if you bring a TV, it'll have a separate one for the TV as well. And then those vanities also have plugs. So if you have a hair dryer or something, or a little lamp that you want to put on your little vanity, there'll be an extra outlet there as well.
Kaylee, did you mention at the top that you were a graduate of AU? I can't remember.
I did not.
That's how Kaylee knows all the inside details, just so
Yes.
everybody's clear.
Yes, I've lived in many of the residence halls at this stage. Double Eagle, so very excited to welcome some new eagles into the nest, as they say. Questions are slowing down. We have our information up for new student and family programs. We had our information up. Please, if we didn't answer your question tonight, please feel free to contact either of our offices. And again, we will be continuing to reach out to you throughout the summer to your student email. So please keep an eye on those. Keep an eye on our websites and our different web pages so you can kind of learn more about the move-in experience. But we are very, very excited to welcome you to campus in August, and we wish you all a great rest of your evening. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, all.